Hey everybody, I think we are live. Welcome, welcome. We're going to get started here in just a few moments. Hope everybody in the US had a good 4th of July last week. Obviously, we took a break for the holiday. We're back at it with our webinars that are going again through the summer, as well as some professional development workshops coming up. So I'll talk about that here shortly. All right. So like I said, let's give it about a minute or two. We have close to about 100 schools registered for this session, so want to make sure everybody hops in. And if you have a chance in the chat box, love to type in, what school you're with, where you're calling in from. I'm calling in from the rainy and hot Philadelphia area, where it seems like if it's not 100 degrees, it's raining out. It's been a very unpleasant summer so far.
Eastern Shore of Maryland here is rainy, but not terribly hot today.
Yeah, I almost feel like today's a little bit of a breather. Hey, Karen, calling from Texas. Welcome. Polly, good to have you on. Yeah, it's been a weird summer. Weeks of 100 degrees and then just rain. All right, Sonia, Maryland, Rhonda, Tennessee, Claudia, Virginia. Welcome, everybody. All right. Well, Tim, we're about 2 minutes past. Ready to get rolling?
Looks to me like we are recording. So yes, let me get started.
So, Tim, what I'll do is I'll just go through some logistics and I'll just turn it right over to you.
Sure.
All right. All right. So yeah, so for our Thursday webinars, again, good to see a lot of familiar names on here. But again, if this is your first session with us, where you typically have these webinars every single Thursday, covering a variety of topics. 2 weeks ago we did one on how to build a newsletter. We've done them on classroom observations. Obviously, today it's about building really great partnerships between your faculty and your families. So every single Thursday, keep an eye on your email to register for these webinar events. They are recorded. You will typically receive the recording within 24 hours after the session is done. You can always go to the Montessori Foundation YouTube page where they're going to be posted as well. As well as after you leave the session, there's a post-webinar survey. We read those. We love your notes, your input, what you found helpful, what you want more of. We're always asking, hey, what other topics do you want to hear about? So let us know what you would find most helpful for these sessions, and we'll hopefully deliver them to you. And one of the two things of note in the post-webinar survey, one is um, certainly, if you need more one-on-one training, professional development, Montessori Foundation, Tim and the team indicate in there, hey, yeah, I'd love to schedule a one-on-one call with Tim, and that way we can get you connected. Additionally, we have some professional development workshops coming up here at the end of July. You can just indicate, we have them on advertising. We have, today's kind of a small piece of it where we have a multi-day workshop on really action plans on how to cultivate those family partnerships. So advertising, how to get more inquiries from your website, how to build a year-long marketing plan. So we have a lot of really great workshops coming up. If you indicate which ones you're interested in, we'll send you some more info. So that's coming up here at the end of July. But with that being said, Tim, I will, and again, those are in the all of that's in the post webinar survey. And certainly, if you have any questions about that, just hit reply to any of the emails that you received to get here. But with
Great.
that
And
being said, Tim, yeah, I'll turn it over to you.
after this, whether you attended live or whether you're registered and getting the recording, we'll send you a link to the recording. As Clint said, we post them on our YouTube page so you can see all of the ones that we've held so far in this series. This is a weekly series on Thursdays at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. We also do one on Tuesdays that's specific to marketing. This one is is a general school leadership, whether you're a Montessori school or whether you're a faith-based school or whatever kind of school you are. We try to have topics of interest to school leaders. Sometimes it's us, sometimes we bring on a guest. And I think you'll find this will be an interesting ongoing series. We will be sending you a PDF of today's slideshow. I'll also be sending you a PDF of an article based on the topic of today for those of you that find that useful. So without any further ado, let me start sharing the slideshow again.
As you're doing that, I'll just mention everybody, certainly if you have questions, if you can use the Q&A feature, that way we can keep the questions nice and organized, we don't miss them. So yeah, ask them during the session and we'll certainly have Q&A towards the end.
Absolutely. So as I begin, I want to acknowledge one of my colleagues who was very instrumental in helping me to refine my own thoughts about this topic. That's Renee Duchesne Farkas, formerly of Boston and Sarasota. She was for many, many years the head of the Kingsley Montessori School up there, and a very fine thinker and consultant in her own right. So our topic today is building faculty and family school partnerships, unlocking your school's full potential. And the idea is you don't want to be a commodity or service like a dry cleaner that your families choose and they pay begrudgingly. You want to be a lifestyle product, something that's part of their identity as individuals and as a family. You also want your teachers to not have a kind of half-hearted resentment of the parents. I mean, many teachers love kids, but they really wish they didn't come with a family because the family can be challenging. And they can be challenging in lots of ways, like why did you give my kid that grade? Or why don't I hear more? I don't feel like I know what's going on in your school. Whatever it is, parents can be intimidating. So the idea is, how do we get people working in a collaborative, friendly, trust-building way that leads parents to think of you as an extension of their family? And even though eventually they're going to leave, either because they age out and they graduate from your highest level, or they move to another city, or they choose reluctantly, and I hope with tears in their eyes, to go to another school for some reason. The ideal is that you want families to love you so much that they ask not what have you done for them lately, but what can they do to help the school as an entity. So one of the basic principles that we teach is a school is really more than the location and the buildings and the grounds and classroom facility and your money in the bank. I mean, yeah, obviously you are all those things, but your science lab and your maker space, your gym and your athletic field, they're all part of what you are. But really what a school is people. A school is the families, the students, the faculty and the staff, the administrators and the board. And the idea is they're human institutions. There are some schools that people really have a kind of an ambivalent relationship with, but the great schools, whether they're military schools or faith-based schools or traditional prep schools, Montessori schools, Waldorf schools, they are a community of people that care about each other. They're on the same page. They want to be there, and they're grateful. There's a spirit of gratitude. By the way, that's what leads to fundraising. A great school is a community of people who share common values, common goals, and a real sense of engagement. And I believe, I would argue, that it's about deep cultures of partnership as opposed to a typical, my kid goes here, or I pay a lot of tuition for that school and I expect the earth, the moon, and the stars, but rather the sense of this is, I am so grateful that I found my partners in raising my children. So I happen to be from the Montessori Foundation. This is a painting of Dr. Maria Montessori. I don't care whether you're involved in Montessori education or any other kind of school. A non-public school is a school where families choose us and we choose them. And I would argue that any kind of school, military academy, a Catholic school, Christian school, Jewish day school, clarity is the key to success. Knowing why families choose you, knowing what you're good at, communicating through every single thing you do that this is who we are, this is what we do, and then ensuring that what you say in your literature, what you say on the website, what you say at graduation or in the initial tour, that is real, that you're not making empty promises, that you really do deliver not only on the nuts and bolts, like we give them art 3 times a week, but that the culture, the experience that a student has at being in the school is really consistent with the culture that we suggest is going to be there. This is incredibly important. Now, life has changed for many families over the past several years, essentially since the pandemic, but really even before it. And today, it is more important than ever that schools and families work together to create a nurturing community that supports the families, the caregivers, the teachers, and the children. I mean, you probably are all too much aware that teachers are feeling more stressed than ever, less appreciated than ever, more worried about money than ever, that parents are generally more quick to get judgmental or to get adversarial than they were before. And the children are showing signs of increasing levels of stress to a degree that is above anything we've seen for decades. Mental health is probably the single biggest issue. Public schools, private schools, Montessori schools, wherever. So what we're suggesting is, I don't care whether you're a Montessori school, which hopefully is committed to proactive, positive mental health, which is the nature of Montessori, or whether you're doing that through some other program design. It doesn't matter. I would simply argue that's incredibly important, that we be creating that kind of nurturing community. Come on, go on to the next slide. Here we go. So we argue that schools can be communities where people feel safe, they feel connected, and they feel welcomed, and they can learn together. By the way, there are some schools where the whole ethos is, are you good enough for us? And are you part of our inner circle? You want to watch out for any culture where there's somebodies and nobodies. In my perception is, even though that used to be normal for a lot of schools, we don't want to do that anymore. That's really blowing back in the face of even the Ivy League colleges. We want to create a culture where people feel safe, they feel connected to each other, and they feel welcomed, and they can learn together. That suggests that your school is a learning community, and the parents are learning, children are learning, administrators are learning, teachers are learning. You're a learning community. We want a culture that says we work together as adults because it takes a village to raise a child, the old Hillary Clinton African ethos saying. So the benefit to the child and the teacher and the family and the school is, it's a win-win for everybody. When parents and teachers and the school are working in some kind of partnership instead of an adversarial role, where disgruntled parents that are out there trying to get a teacher fired or believe that the board is evil or that the administration is uncaring. If you can get people working together, everybody wins. So a school, I would argue, has community hubs that you're trying to build a sense of belonging and connection, safety, and welcome. So let me go back a minute. The idea of a school as a community is the idea that a school is much more than the place where you drop your kid off and you go to work, it's actually a part of your network as a parent, as an adult. That's what we want to create. And we want them to feel connected to our teachers, and we want them to feel connected to us as administrators. And again, we want that sense of belonging, connection, safety, and that they are welcomed. We want to create a place where parents feel that it's a school where they can learn, whether it's about nutrition or how to save for college or how to be better parents. We want them to feel that they're learning too, and they're participating. The research shows very clearly that children learn best when parents are engaged, involved, like the school, trust the school, and are actually participating in some way, shape, or form with the school. So usually that looks like some kind of adult learning activity. And we know that parents today, they may seem confident, but a lot of them are feeling very insecure and unconfident. And so they're looking, whether they're asking for it or not, they're looking for support in raising their kids. We argue that parents need to be supported in raising their children. That no parents are immune to social pressures to accelerate their child. In other words, you mean your child isn't already reading at age 4? What's wrong with you? The implication is your child on grade level or is your child gifted? And this shows up in lots of ways, like one family taking their kid to a trip, that other families can't afford, or one family giving their 4-year-old a smartphone. Parents want the school to help them, and they need it to be a place where they can get reliable information and advice. So parents are learning too. Again, they look like they know it all. You think they know it all, but in reality, the odds are that they're frustrated with their child. We would argue that parents are a rich source of information and experience. One way of thinking of that is WOM, word of mouth. Obviously, this has implications that go beyond the simple fact that their experience with your school is the most powerful marketing tool you're going to ever have. But they're also incredible in terms of what they could contribute to your school. They may be lawyers, they may be architects, they have a lot of background. So you want to be aware of who these people are and what are they interested in, and is there some way to get them to share that in some way, shape, or form. And again, we know that students learn best when parents are involved in the school. Now, the Surgeon General a few years ago did a report called Parents Under Pressure. And the idea is that parents today are facing a mental health crisis, that parenting in the world today can feel emotionally draining, overwhelming to parents, that the work of parenting is essential work, not only for the children, but for our society as a whole. In other words, we as a country have a stake in, are these parents doing a good job? It isn't just their family that's screwed up if they don't do a good job. It affects the whole country. So it's really important that we as a school do whatever we can. And at the same time, we have to remember that our caregivers, our teachers, our assistants, the before school and after care workers, the people who are our bus drivers, they need to be taken care of too in terms of their mental health. So this is just more findings from the Surgeon General report. Parents are asking, how can I protect my child? Otherwise known as, how do I keep my kids safe? What if this happens to my child? Again, how do I keep my child safe? There is never enough time. the feeling that a lot of parents have that they are spread too thin, that they can't do it all. Will my child be okay? Will they make it? Again, a worry about their health. I can't keep up with all this. They're stressed. I feel so alone, otherwise known as parent loneliness and isolation. And again, our impression is that parents, especially these polished, well-dressed, well-paid, affluent families, have it together. And they often go out of their way to give you that impression. But most of the people you know are actually feeling very insecure about whether they know what to do for their child or whether they're doing the right thing. So some of the talking points or the things that parents worry about are their hopes and dreams for my precious child. And the idea there is that these parents are just so worried about their child, and they're so zero focused on their children. It used to be that parents not only worried about their kids, they worried about their neighbors' kids too. Today, it's pretty much egocentric. My kid. I want to be the best parent, and I'm anxious because I don't know what I'm doing. That's a very common thing that people say today when you get them talking. I am anxious and worried, and I need the school to help me. I want to have a great relationship with my child's teacher. They don't know how to do it, but they want it. I want to belong, and it needs to be fixed. And I want to be part of a community, and I want to fit in. Again, a lot of parents go to a new school, and for the first 3 or 4 years, they feel like outsiders. They just don't know how to break into the little close-knit community. I want to contribute, and I want to give back to the school. Lots of parents feel that way. So the value of partnership with school is it invites and supports parents' active participations in a child's learning between the classroom and in home. The school needs to take the lead. I mean, obviously you want to ask parents what they're interested in, but don't assume they're going to organize it. That's what they pay us for. We need to maintain our authority as a school because we don't just turn them loose, but we want to encourage partnership and collaboration. We have roles as a school and families have roles as a school, and we want everyone to be very clear about what's their lane and what's our lane, but they should be very distinct, they should be understood, and they ought to complement each other. Again, parents often don't know what the boundaries ought to be. For example, they think that they should know about, some other family's child's business, which we cannot let them know. So they will speculate, but we have to keep things private. We are not going to be ceding authority to our parents. It's different than that. It's about shared responsibility. We know that parent involvement in education is benefiting the child and the school and the teachers. Okay, we're really clear about that. That partnership needs to be based on a two-way flow of information. In other words, we need parents to be telling us what's going on with their kid, with their family, what's happening inside their house, and we need to be sure they know what's going on with their kid and that they know what's going on with the school. We do not want any surprises for families. So that includes teacher to parent, which is about, what's going on in the classroom. We want parent to teacher, in other words, what's going on at home. We want the school to the parent, which is kind of guidelines of communication, the policies in the handbook, and the systems we put into place and keep going. And forgive me, I'm a Montessori educator, the opportunity to help your parents understand your school's philosophy and culture, whether you're a Montessori school or a Catholic school or whatever, doesn't matter. But it's the opportunity that you want your school to be very porous and to influence the culture of the family life. So the parent's experience of being a parent in your school and the student's experience of being in the school are connected, but they're different. And we often tend to focus on the student's experience. Again, our people often don't really identify that much with parents because parents are either lavishing praise and presence on them, or they're making them feel like they're this tall. And a lot of parents are intimidating to teachers. We want, again, the parent has the experience of wanting to take care of my precious child. The parents have an experience, and that's them as an adult. Remember, once upon a time they were kids, and at this moment they're feeling guilty or ambivalent about their kid. There are moments when these parents may want to throttle their kids, or they may feel totally inadequate, like they can't keep it together at home. Whatever it is, we need to understand that even if they look like they're polished, they got it together, we have to assume that they may actually be on the raw, ragged edge, because that's what the research suggests, is that many of the people that we know as adults are just barely holding it together. We want to have our focus be on the totality of the parent experience for everyone. The idea is that a happy family and a happy customer leads to a happy school. So these are questions to ponder together. How do you understand the dual relationship that parents have with your school? Now think about that. They have their relationship as a parent, and they, what sort of the adult mind, what's my kid learning? And then are they feeling like you love their kid? Are they feeling like they feel part of the inner circle, or do they feel like they're outsiders? These are real important questions for you to think about. What goes on in your school? And what is the parent experience at your school? I mean, we typically all give them a survey once a year, but other than saying on a scale of 1 to 5 or a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your child's experience here, or what he's learning, or with your child's teachers? But that's not the same as their experience. Their experience is, do they wander around the school and not even know where to go? Do they often feel lost because they show up to pick their kid up and they don't know where they should be, and they feel like they're stupid because they should know where their kid is at 5:30 at night? Or there was a parent meeting and they didn't even know there was supposed to be a parent meeting. Again, we want to try to figure out, how are our parents experiencing their time as a parent in the school? And the question also is, for you as administrators, is what I'm asking something that's an old familiar song, or is this a new way of thinking? So if you would put into the chat, and Clint, let me know what you see, because I can't see the chat. Put in a 1 if you feel like this is old familiar talk, you're not learning anything new. And 2, if you're feeling like this is new and you're thinking about this maybe in some ways for the first time. I'll take a moment to see what you come up with.
Are you seeing the chat too?
I'm just going to turn it on now.
Okay. Yeah, I would say just from a quick scan, 50-50.
Yep. Okay. Let me hide the chat and I'll continue on. So a parent's experience in our schools includes every single interaction they have, whether it's on campus, whether it's reading an email or a letter, or what they experience when they come to some kind of event. It includes the way they interact with the staff. It includes the level of information they receive about their child's progress, and it includes the level of support that they receive as a family. For example, when my daughter Chelsea started her children in school for the first time, she had a child who was 10 weeks old and a child who was 10 months old. And she dropped them off for the first time. And Chelsea is a clinical psychologist, and you think she would have it together. She's in tears. So she drops these two little children off at Love of Learning Montessori School in Ellicott City, Maryland. And she's in tears. And about 10 minutes after she leaves the campus, she gets a text with pictures from both of the classrooms, showing them pictures of the kids happily playing with other kids and doing really beautifully with a couple of simple words. And she said, I did not expect something like that. I figured I'd get something maybe at the end of the day, but to get that quick a level of reassurance made her very grateful. Every single thing we do, every touch point, from the process of admissions to the way the day goes every day, it shapes their perception of what the school is, its culture, its values, and is it really committed to their family and to their child's education? And that's what they pay for. So the more you're doing that by deliberate design, rather than just assuming I hire great teachers, and of course they do that. You want to hire great teachers who would do it naturally, but you also want to work to ensure that this happens by deliberate design. So let's think about the customer experience. And by the way, Disneyland and other family-oriented businesses are great to think of like this. And when you go to Disneyland, I hope you've noticed that in general, every experience you're going to have is pretty darn positive, other than the long lines of waiting to get into Magic Mountain or something like that. Place is usually immaculate. Any trash is picked up very quickly. They want you to have the best experience they possibly can. So what is a customer's experience at your school? And I am going to ask you, take a moment and think about whether you can think of something that happened in your school that was a positive customer experience that you learned about. How do you know that a parent had a good experience? I'm watching the chat to see if anyone puts anything in there. Glenn, how about you? I know you've got children in school. Can you think of something you've had that was a really good experience?
I'm thinking.
I often like to have people in my groups do the opposite. I tell them I want a list of 20 ways to really annoy your parents. Good example is you've got a sports team, let's say it's a soccer team or a basketball team, they go off campus using school buses. It's 5:30 at night. Bus should have been here at 5, and nobody is telling the parents, this is what's going on. The kids are okay. Or suddenly changing the calendar, and the parent didn't have a clue that there was no school today. There are ways to really annoy parents.
And there's some
Yeah, I
Good
see that.
comments here. Yeah, Rapali said creating a phase-in schedule for family whose child had problems starting school. A parent thanking me for their quick response to their concerns. A parent's noticed that as a head of school, I carry everything and volunteer to take the responsibility to be the parent coordinator. That's great stuff.
Yeah, thank you. Let me invite you all, just take a moment and put in the chat. Can you think of one good way to really, really annoy parents that I haven't already named? What could you do to really tick them off? Not communicate. That's a good one. Thank you, Nandita. Yeah, Rapali, thank you. Lisa Reiner, my old friend. So all of these are great examples. You know, people don't like to be dismissed. They don't like it when you ignore them. They don't like it when you try to make them feel like they shouldn't have these concerns or questions, or that they're not welcome in the classroom. Again, that doesn't mean you just let parents run amok or come in and yell. So when parents do say nice things, don't we feel pretty good? Think about how it makes our teachers feel. So share a recent customer experience that you had that was not good. I love Rhonda McKay's suggestion of a candid photo on the first day of school. I do that too. I wander all over the campus and I have all the parent emails or phone numbers and I send texts to people. By the way, I personally believe in giving out my cell phone number. That's what we get paid for. If they're upset, I want parents to feel like they can call me. If they want to call me at midnight, I may not be happy, but if they're upset enough to send me a call at that time, they're pretty darned upset. I'd rather talk to them than have them show up on my doorstep the next morning. Anyone else? Lisa gave a great example that I think is true for every school, no matter what the age of the kids is. If this happens, let's imagine you have a middle school and a kid does something really rude, crude, and obnoxious, and your staff pulls them into the office to talk to the counselor or to talk to someone in administration. And they learn about it at the end of the day, that does not make them happy. So again, they want to know right away. They probably would like to be there at the moment that you're talking to their kid, but at the very least, they want to know quickly. Again, they hate surprises. Okay. So what could have been different to make your experience better is a question we should always ask ourselves. How can we learn a lesson from this experience? What did we do wrong? What did we miss? So one area that we have full control of is our parents' experience. That may sound like it's not true, but the truth is we are in control. It's like running a restaurant. There are things that may happen that you didn't expect. You know, the stove doesn't work. You know, 3 staff members don't come in one night. Obviously, you don't have perfect control, but you do have control over how you respond to situations. We see our customers throughout the day. I mean, multiple times a day, we have the opportunity to really annoy them or really bond them more closely to us. Cultivating a strong customer experience is every single person at the school who's paid their responsibility. It's not just the responsibility of the administration. It's not just an admissions or some parent relations coordinator's job. It's everybody's job. And we have to do right by our customers every single time, every single day. And that's the truth, because it only takes one bad interaction for a parent who is paying us 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 25,000, whatever it is. It's a lot of money. I don't care if they're on scholarship or not. We cannot afford to have our customers feel like we let them down. I don't care how hard you try, you're going to have a certain percentage that feel let down no matter how hard you try. You want to do everything in your power to keep that to zero. Every single parent wants a red carpet experience. We need to invest in learning about our customers and their perceptions, their needs. That's hard. One of the things that Clint and I have been working on are templates for people that use the AIMS software or Montessori Growth Suite that I call Let's Get to Know Each Other. And the idea is that we invite the parent every few days to tell us more about their family. And we let them know that we're going to keep it confidential, but we're going to let the teacher know this. And they're, you've got to let us know what's going on. If there's trouble in your family, it's okay. We're here to support you without judgment. If you're feeling like a bad parent, it's okay. We've all felt like bad parents. We want to support you. So again, we want to help them to feel they can trust us enough to tell us a lot about what's really going on at home. Our goal is to build pride, understanding, and consensus. Pride in being part of our school community, whether you're big or small, a sense of understanding, and a sense of consensus. And this is true whether you're a Montessori school or you're running a faith-based school or a prep. I don't care if you're at Gilman or Sidwell Friends. I don't care what school you're at. Every school, let's face it, West Point, Annapolis, Military Academy, they have pride. They have identity. They have a sense of clarity. They know who they are. That's what we need to be doing. The ideal is our school versus my child's school. So communication is key, right? And it's every single channel. I don't care if it's Instagram, Facebook, emails, texts, notes that come home in the kids' lunch. I don't care how you do it. You've got lots of ways to communicate, including the grapevine. You want to be sure you are working every single channel and that it is being worked deliberately. Enough things will escape your notice. You want to be doing everything you can to be on top of it. Now, every single parent wants to know what's going on with their child. And by the way, it's more true in high school than even a toddler. So we tend, as kids get older, our teachers tend not to communicate very much with parents. And parents tend to think that they're not expected to know as much, but they want to know what's going on and they need to know what's going on. Now, one of the things that makes this tricky is that families or parents or caregivers, I don't care what you call them, guardians, they have all kinds of looks today. It could be grandma raising the kids. It could be adopted children, foster care, it could be all kinds of things. We need to be sure that we understand the family as a set of individuals. That includes how do they want to be communicated with, and do we understand that just because we write an email and send it out, that doesn't mean parents read it. That doesn't mean they remember it. I mean, Clint, in many of our workshops, reminds us that in today's world, with all the different messages people are getting, it takes 33 repetitions of the same message before someone even knows that you were communicating with them in most cases. So again, we got to figure out what does it take to get through to them. By the way, in Montessori, we have a saying, follow the child. What that means is really pretend you're an anthropologist. Try to figure out what the kid is thinking, what the kid is saying, what the kid understands, what the kid can do, and go deeper than a quiz or paper and pencil or multiple choice test. Try to really figure out what's going on. In the same way that we want to follow the child and try to understand how they think and how they learn and what do they understand and what are they interested in, what do they find difficult or boring or intimidating. In the same way, we want to try to understand the parent. Now, with this, we want to develop clear guidelines about who communicates and who do they communicate to and when do they communicate to them and how do they communicate to them and what do they communicate to them. That's a lot of sayings. I want you to think about that. You want a plan in writing. You want a plan that your staff knows, that they know you're dead serious. And you don't want it to be so simplistic and so rigid that it can't respond to the unexpected. But you really want a plan of how often do you communicate, who communicates, what do they communicate, and so forth. Normally, you're going to always go parent to teacher first. Then you're going to go to the handbook and your policies. So you want really good written policies they can refer to. You want everything to be clear, consistent, connected, and you want messages, newsletters, emails, so forth, when possible, to come out in a predictable way. Like every Tuesday at 5, expect an email from the school. Be consistent. You need to be intentional in what you do to engage with families. You want to have personalized communications because one size doesn't always fit. You want to do Zoom calls that are meetings where we get to know a family. For example, try to imagine your teachers using either Google Meet or Zoom to have a face-to-face meeting with the parents who may be at their work or they might be at home, and just get to know each other, or just do a touch base with a returning family. How is the summer going? What's happened? Is there anything that is new, like a new puppy? You got a new baby sister on the way. There's been a lot of stress, or your mom's been sick. Kids are really scared. You and your parenting partner are having a hard time right now. He knows what's going on. Kids developed an allergy. He's having a really hard summer. What are the things that you most wish that we would be aware of and take care of over the first few months of school? These are the kind of things you want to touch base with your parents as they're getting ready to come back to school. Then I would do check-ins with every family every 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks into the school year. And this could be teacher to the parent. It can be administration to the parent. By the way, one of the things that I learned from my friend Mary Beth Ricks of the Bowman School in Palo Alto is, and I did a version of this, but what she does is she has a school of about 300. She divides them up. She has 15 families a week that she works her way through, and she has her office prepare a list of the contact information on a random 15 families, and she goes out of her way to reach all 15 families every 2 weeks. And what she's doing is 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, she's reaching another 2 families. Actually, that's not true. She does it every week. She's going for 15. For me, I want to check in with 10 families a week. And I would just go through the whole school and then work my way through again. You want to have what are called tears and cheers meetings in the morning. Now, what I'm talking about there is you as an administrative team, you want to do tears and cheers, like what worked really well and what was stressful. I used to like to have my faculty gather before the kids arrived, and we would do a check-in. And this can be done on Zoom with faculty that's spread out all over the place. So those are tears and cheers meetings. You want to check-in calls to new families at least 3 times a year. You want to have monthly coffee and conversation, if not weekly coffee and conversation sessions at your school. You want to have parent association meetings, of course, or parent councils. You want to be working on continuous improvement through all kinds of feedback opportunities. By the way, one of the things I do for schools as a consultant is, if you want, I'll help you develop a marketing plan. And I do this as part of typically a school institutional assessment. And what I do in addition to everything else is my team will come in and we'll hold meetings that we record with your families. And we'll ask them, tell us about your school. And then we use AI to do a deep dive into what did all of this tell us about what these people were saying. We want to definitely go out and look for our key advocates, our most, our ambassador parents, what's going on in their minds. We want to take general pulse of the school community. We want to have ask me anything sessions or forums. In other words, just an open, it could be an online Zoom meeting. Come and ask me anything. What's going on with the front playground, whatever they want to know. Address common concerns and needs through blog posts and newsletters and social media. Provide ways that families can get involved with the life of your school, because they don't often know how to get involved. We assume they know more than they do. Whoop, looks like a repeated version. Excuse me on that one. Huh, it's doing the same thing again. Why? Okay, so we want to have volunteers. This is a way families can be involved. You want to have school ambassadors, which are parents that are willing to work with other parents. Some people call those class parents or room parents. You want to have a way for families to involve with the admissions process. Huh. My slideshow is being weird. I'm sorry. So a partnership agreement is something we recommend that a school work on. Some schools call these parent-school codicils or covenants. They are collaborative relationship agreements that where both sides agree how they're going to support the child's academic, social, emotional, and behavioral needs. And its purpose is to improve the child's learning and development, to build a relationship between the school, the teachers, and the family, to share responsibility, and to create more mutual understanding and develop personalized strategies, how to meet the child's needs or how to better understand what's going on for this family. So what do teachers feel? They would prefer to work with the kid and not the adult. They don't want to deal with parents. I mean, some do. Some of them like to cultivate kind of a close covenant of parents who really are bonded to them as teachers instead of to the school. So we want to help teachers to think about what they're feeling and how they're behaving. We want the first impression a parent has to be a lasting impression, create really strong impressions. Think about what you can do to have teachers have more contact with families, because the more they do that, the more likely they are to know the students and the more they can support the child and the family. How can we support teachers? We need to understand that it's hard work to be a teacher. They have real lives, they have real feelings, and when they're honest, what they say is very different from what they typically say when you survey them or ask them in a public meeting. Blended families today make life more complicated. Many, many families are on their second marriage and so forth. Teachers do not really have much say in which parents are going to get into their class or into the school. There can be social imbalances. I mean, a teacher might be paid $50,000, $60,000, maybe. They may be dealing with parents that are earning $300,000, $400,000 a year or more. This can have a real effect on the relationship between the teacher and the families in her class. Teachers need training and they want training. They may not want to spend the time, but they know that they need help. you as an administrator want to model the best practices about how to create positive relationships among the teachers and with parents. So we give them professional development on communication strategies and conflict resolution, how to have difficult conversations. By the way, this is all stuff the Montessori Foundation can do for your school, whether you're a Montessori school or any other school. We do a lot of this either in person. We do lots of retreats on campus. We also do a much more affordable online interactive professional development that's very different from this webcast. You can help teachers by playing role-playing exercises. You can be available as an administrator to sit in on difficult meetings and conferences. You can design a consistent format for how conferences go, because not all teachers know how to run them well. And you develop really design communication guidelines. How do we communicate? And you want to offer mentorship and peer support. That means you've got people in your faculty who are teachers who know how to help younger teachers become more confident in doing this work. Use them. So you want to get the admin team on board, and it helps if all of this is part of a serious planned strategic initiative. It all starts with our administrative office. You want to move to the ideal parent experience. That's the goal. You have to really want it. You want to reframe the parent experience from a customer client experience to a stakeholder. I'm part of a community. And you want to create a leadership task force to execute and communicate your efforts. You want to be part of every single staff meeting. You want to share success stories. You want to embed into all school operations so that everyone is part of the effort. A lot of schools have assistants and they don't include them in this. That's a big mistake. Or the admin team is just like the head of upper school or lower school, maybe the head of school, but we don't have anyone else from the admin team be part of it. In general, that's a mistake. Again, have lots of professional development. Invest in your people and announce, give periodic feedback, report progress. You want to be looking for the data. How do we know that we're getting anywhere? So we want to listen to parents. We want to amplify their voice in decision making. Now, again, in saying that doesn't mean they get to vote. It's that they get to offer their opinion. So before you make decisions, invite them to weigh in. And then if you disagree with them, lovingly let them know why you disagree with them. So you can do this with focus groups. You can do it with NSP surveys. You can do it with building a collaborative culture, supporting respectful dialogue. You can have community meetings, and there's a specific way we do it in Montessori schools. You can have parent councils. And you want to help your teachers, give them tools for building relationships because they don't know how to do it. You want to give them skill-based professional development for the faculty and your staff, especially the staff that is paraprofessional. You want to help your parents, hold workshops on parent-teacher-child expectations. You want to provide guidelines for parents. You want to create learning opportunities for families. You want to create learning forums for topic discussions. And you want to have parent discussion groups. And you want to involve your parent association leaders. So we're about done. Let's just create a couple more. We want to have learning opportunities to help families to better understand how their children are growing and developing and how that fits in with our school's culture. We want to have parents as learners, speaker series, bring in major speakers to talk about family life or whatever. And tailor and customize efforts to address different family needs. use social emotional learning frameworks to strengthen parent-child school dynamics, and create parent-school charters and agreements. I think on that note, I'm going to stop sharing because we're about out of time. There may be a slide or two left, but I think that covers the key of what I wanted to share today. Does anyone have any last questions? Don't see any Q&A.
I didn't see any Q&A, Tim, but there were some comments, questions that came in through the chat. I know there was a question about a link to recordings. Yep, we'll get that out there. Some comments here. Ron had said prior to COVID, used coffee conversations or cocktail conversations. You could choose. They were really well attended, so that's a really great idea. I know that's a pretty common one. Let me see.
Well, for those people that want to know about booking us for professional development, just go to Montessori.org and you'll see under educators or the Montessori Foundation, you'll see, professional development. And there's a link to book a meeting to plan out your professional development. It costs $300 an hour. We generally recommend at least a 90-minute session to allow for two-way conversation. We try not to do what we just did. And Joyce, you'll be getting all the slides. We're going to send you the PDF of all the slides. So the bottom line is, if you're interested in having us either come to your school or do an online presentation, which is much less expensive, which, by the way, we record so that your staff can see it afterwards and review it. We give out certificates of attendance and so forth. So I hope that you found this useful.
Tim, question about a template for parent collaborative agreement. Is that something you have?
If you reach out, again, when we do the course about building parent-teacher relationships, we'll cover that as part of it. But if you reach out to me individually, I'm happy to share it. But you can also just Google parent-school covenants, and you'll find a number of school examples. Just craft one that works for your school.
Tim, I'm not sure if you answered this, but there was the question about, do you believe teachers should share their personal phone numbers, or is it better for someone from the administration to handle that?
Oh, that's a good question. Not every teacher wants that. I'm going to suggest that the school create a system where parents can text, teachers can text parents in some way, shape, or form without going to their private cell phones. Because a lot of teachers feel very antsy about that. They're intimidated by parents. I do. And some of you probably do, but not everyone's comfortable doing that. So there's quite often, there's good software that allows them to communicate back and forth. And that, in my opinion, is not a bad solution. But I do think we need to have covenants, like at 6 o'clock at night, if you send an email to a teacher, do not expect a response until sometime maybe at the end of the next day, because in reality, they have a life, they've got children to take care of and so forth themselves. But that's a covenant. You got to help parents to understand that your teachers have a life too. All right, well, I think we've probably run out of time, and there's so much more we can talk about. Again, I really encourage it. One of the things that we're about to send out on Tuesday is an invitation to people to participate in Montessori Foundation School Leadership Forums, Consortium. Lisa Reiner, if you're still on here, this is what you used to be part of with us. These are going to be groups of 15, 20 schools who meet with Dr. Robin Howe and I. Maybe we get Clint involved once in a while on a weekly basis. But more importantly, you're going to have our cell phone numbers. You're going to be able to call on us whenever you need advice, whether it's to help write a better letter or what to do with this crazy situation. It will be the most affordable school consultant relationship you've ever seen. So it's $350 a month, which is what Lisa used to do. And hopefully you'll be able to do it again, Lisa. We would love to having you be part of that when we were doing it during COVID. We stopped for a long time. It seemed like people felt like they didn't need it anymore. our sense is that people need it again, and we're going beyond the weekly meeting. So again, there's going to be an email. If you're on our email list, you'll be getting an email about that on Tuesday. So Clint, I'm going to sign off.
All right. Yeah, thanks everybody. Again, when you sign off, there's that end of the webinar survey. Let us know what you thought about it. If you need any additional assistance, whether from the foundation or interested in any of the workshops, let us know. And then certainly give us your feedback. Hey, what are some other things that you would love to see us cover? And we'll get it into the mix.
And it's very easy to reach the Montessori Foundation. You can either do info@montessori.org or Tim Seldin, Seldin, at montessori.org, or call me. My phone number is pretty well known, 941-914-4103. That's my cell phone. I don't always answer it. I'm not always available, but I always return calls if you leave a message or send a text. Anyway, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.